Hey, tonight is going to be an exciting night because we're going to talk about true crime. And I'm a guy who's hooked on ID discovery, and we got David Kolchak, and he knows everything about it. He's an author, he has all kinds of books. I think he has like 20 books out, if I remember right. And he knows everything about crime in California, crime in Sacramento, right where I'm at. So, David, how did you get so interested in crime?
You know, to tell you the truth, it was an easy way to get published, in book form. And 'cause I was doing a lot of freelance writing before that, a lot of music reviews and things. But I was reading, I'd read these history books, and they'd always talk about the same people. And I thought, I can do better than this. I can write about people that aren't written about all the time. And yeah, I wrote up a proposition, sent it to um, uh, Quill Driver Press, and they said, yeah, sure. And so that was my first book out. California Justice Shootouts, Lynchings, and Assassinations in the Golden State. My dog's right here. Let's see.
Oh, hey, we
Oh,
love dogs. I have I have two dogs. I have two dogs, Chip
yeah.
and Irie. Hey, David, I want to ask you something. Do you remember the 1991 Sacramento hostage crisis at the Good Guys store?
Yeah, I wasn't even living in the States when that happened. But yeah, I remember it. I'm familiar with that. That was a horrible thing, man.
Yeah, and now it got nationwide news, and they were covering it. Um, like there was a little girl, she was hiding, and some they caught her. They held her for hostage. I mean, what was that all about? Was it? I can't remember it. Was it just because they wanted to steal things out of there?
If I'm not mistaken, those guys, they were either Vietnamese or Hmong, and they wanted money to get back over there to help with the revolution or something like that.
Oh, that was it. That
It
was
was
it.
kind of a drug induced fantasy they had, though.
Yeah.
They're sitting around doing buying it. You know what we should do? Yeah.
What was and like Sacramento has a lot of notable crimes. Do you remember the Sacramento thrill killer that killed all those clerks on Auburn Boulevard? Eric Leonard.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm familiar with that guy. Yeah.
I mean, what possesses people to be a thrill killer, just killing people for the hell of it?
You know, I really don't know. I kind of stay away from serial killers and maybe going to spree killers. We just do it all at once. A serial killer, uh, I I I don't like to give them any publicity that they you know don't deserve. Um, there's been other spree killings like that. Um, let's see. I got it in this one book here, in Diddley, California.
What was it?
Whoa. Accidents and robberies gone wrong. And there's a guy in Sacramento.
What was it?
In he's yeah, okay, here we go. And
What was it? What was it? What was it? What was it?
I hate this dead air here, but wow, okay, what is that?
What was it?
Well, it was in the 1920s, and
Okay.
this guy was divorced from his wife. This guy was like 41, and his wife was only like 22. They had a 3-year-old daughter, and he would mess around with her, not give her child support payments and stuff unless she got to see him personally, and yeah, she got tired of it, and he's he demanded that she get back with him and stuff, and by the certain day, and the day came and went, and nothing happened. She came home from work, and The guy pulled up, was talking to her. While she was talking to him, her fiance pulled up. They got into a fight. Her ex-husband shoots him, kills him
What was
right
it?
there. Sidewalk, house is still there and everything. He
What
drives
was it?
over to Curtis Park, goes over to her cousin's house, who was taking care of their daughter, babysitting while she was at work. And he wouldn't let him see him, so he shot him in the doorway.
What was it?
Jumps in the car, goes to another one of her cousin's houses, says, "Hey, come on, quick, we got to go over, whatever." And the guy gets in the car and he shoots him like a block away, kicks him out of the car. Goes to another cousin, does the same thing. They're up by the airport, by Executive Airport. And he shoots him, and the guy pulls up in a car and like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he shoots that guy. And yeah, he ended up killing 4 people in one evening.
That kind of reminds me of that Nikolai Schultes.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah, he killed 6 family members.
yeah. I read about that in I think Trent Flakes and Nuts. But yeah, he was. That happened right after I moved here. Did you know about that, Phil?
Yeah.
Oh,
I did know about that story. That's another one of the fathers that went nuts and killed their entire family. There was that guy, and then there was the guy from the '60s that like killed his whole family and like laid him out perfectly. And I can't remember that guy's name either, but that was
List.
List.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we just had a recent one over in the Pocket area near Greenhaven in Sacramento, and that was Michael Hangood, and he killed 4 family members. He assisted his wife in committing suicide, and then he killed his 3 children. Oh, and the reason why he did it is because he was an IT worker he had a state job as an IT person, and he lost his job. He must have screwed up somehow, lost his job. His marriage wasn't doing well. So, hey, I'm going to kill the whole family.
Yeah, was that guy from like Romania or someplace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that wasn't too long ago.
Yeah. They just convicted him. They just sentenced him. Well, there was a guy about 2 years ago in some Boston suburb who had a regular job and stuff. And he wrote books on the side. He had two kids who were like tweens. And he just said, quit his job. And he was just going to write books for a living. And what an idiot. About like 2 months later, he killed his wife and family and himself.
Idiot.
God.
That's what was that? What was that ice cream parlor where that airplane crashed into it? And the
Barrels.
Santa Farrell.
Yeah. I read
There's-
about that in death in California.
That was on Freeport Boulevard.
There's actually I've got a copy of every one of Dave's books, thanks to Dave, in my closet there. There's actually footage of the aftermath of that.
Yeah.
That's one that they did the news back then kind of was still in the days, where they, the newscaster ran in and showed probably more than they should have. And there's still footage out there in the archives, Sacramento archives, of them pulling the kids' bodies out of Farrell's right after.
Put it up right on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm sure it's out on YouTube now.
What was it?
But yes,
My mother-in-law worked with this lady that her entire family got killed. Her husband, and 2 kids.
Wow.
She worked
Hey.
at the Department of Natural Resources.
That must have been such a horrific thing and such a surreal experience, considering nowadays when people go to an ice cream parlor, I don't think it's quite the same as it was back then, but especially when you look at the footage back then. I mean, literally people wore those old timey hats with the red and white stripes, and it was like an experience. Oh, you want kids to go out for ice cream, and there was some type of little league baseball team that was going there after a game.
Yeah.
It was like something out of a Norman Rockwell, goes horribly wrong,
Yeah.
painting there. And yeah, really insane that Sacramento's got some crazy chapters to its dark side of its history there.
David,
It's
I got
been a
one.
city for a long time. You know, for a West Coast city, Sacramento is one of the oldest. You know.
Oh yeah, gateway to the West.
David, I got one for you. Okay. Back in the 70s, I was working as a dance instructor for Arthur Murray's. And one of my students named Luis Rodriguez and his wife Evelyn came over to Arthur Murray's to learn how to disco dance. Nicest guy in the world. One day I pick up the Sacramento Bee. Luis Rodriguez made front headlines. He killed two CHP officers on Belcher and Freeman Causeway.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and somehow he managed to get one of the CHP's guns and shot them in the back of the head, had them kneeling where they were their life. I was shocked when I learned about this. And then he was connected to that lady who was hitchhiking. She got picked up by Lawrence something, and he chopped off her arms, and she was walking down the road. So the blood, so she wouldn't bleed out.
Yeah.
He was connected with her. She spent a couple nights in his apartment, so I guess they got intimate. And then there was two men who were in the trunk of a car in San Francisco. The car was set on fire. The two men had connections to the Charles Manson family. So he was connected to all of that. And then when I was working at the Secretary of State building, one of the ladies was my employee. She was her Evelyn, who was married to Luis Rodriguez, is her aunt. And she was connected also to Gerard and Charlene Gallegos, the serial killers. Gerard Gallegos was married to one of her aunts too. So her whole family is full of crime family. It's like a
Ah,
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
What was it?
You're muted, Phil.
Zandine, you grew up in the Bay Area. Dave's written about all of California, not just Sacramento. You got any stories about crimes you may have?
Yeah, nice to meet you, David. It's an honor. It's actually my mom is deceased, but she knew about you. So because she was she worked for the DA's office, and my dad was an officer for 45 years. So like all kind of crazy stuff out here about. But me personally, one I want to tell you there. You remember 101 California?
Yeah.
What was it? San Francisco. But,
Yeah.
Quite, a bit of stuff happened there. But one time, a guy went down he was jealous about his lady, always on. And I actually knew this guy because he lived next door to me. But he went down to 101 California, sprayed everything up. It was like a whole bunch of people should have died. Nobody, I don't believe anybody died. But as soon as he sprayed up 101 California, with a Uzi, he came back home. And so when he came home, he knocked on my door. Now I didn't know that this had just happened, but I just would see him washing his car with his girlfriend, and I always make friends with the men first. And so we never had a problem. And he came up the stairs, and this is one time he was different. Like it was like, I didn't know what he did, but I just knew something was different. It wasn't like it was like he was drunk or high. It was just something weird about him. He says, "Hey man, I need a little bit of cash, man." He said, I got these transformers, these things they hook up cable channels. I said, "Cable channels?" I said, "Nah, man." I said, "Man, I got like XBMC. I stream, whatever the hell." He said to me, I just need a little bit of cash. And if you got a little bit, and I said, "Hey," and this is when XBMC was out. This is when Jordan was doing. This is the last time Jordan had a championship, I believe. Because I asked him, I said, "Dude, who thinks it'll win? You think Jordan's gonna get it?" And he said, I don't know, man. Okay. And he was really calm. And then he left, went downstairs. He shot at the police. They shot him. he was dead, and I came down like maybe 10 minutes because after all the neighbors that came down, because I was like, holy fuck, like I really didn't know if it was really him or what had happened. But I came down, I saw him on the gurney, belly full of blood. He's dead. He's sitting there. You know, I'm thinking, damn, that's somebody's child. You know, I don't know what got into him, but yeah. So you know that type of.
People just snap sometimes, you know.
What
Like,
was it?
nothing you can do about it.
And he didn't even bother me. You know, I mean, I was thinking, damn, I mean, whatever it was isolated. You know, I was going to ask the question I want to ask you, David, was in your writing and in research, you know how the neurons are firing on those serial killers, like when a killer, you know, they've been finding out when the killer kills, he has this abnormal amount of neurons firing, and like while they're firing, you know, he might do another kill. He's more likely to kill like right after that first kill, um, or say that this is what I was reading. But I'm wondering for you, what do you think about a spree killer? You know, how does that work for a spree killer? Because they were just talking about serial killer.
Yeah, well, spree killer is just, you know, somebody that snaps and shoots everybody. You know, like you don't see it that much anymore, but there was a lot of workplace massacres that happened.
What was it? What was it? What was it? What was it? What was it?
Yeah, the going postal thing. I think Dave froze up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right back.
Good.
Well,
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, everybody disappeared for a second.
Yeah, you just froze for a second. Yeah, you were talking about the workplace massacres. I just said, yeah, that the phrase "going postal." Remember, it used to be postal work that it happened to for a while.
Right. That first one happened in Galena, California, at a big postal facility. She killed like 8 people. But sometimes when, you know, there'd be, you know, a workplace problem like that, I'd always think that must have been a really crappy place to work. You know?
Well, it made you wonder just how bad being a postman was, right?
I mean, postal. I mean, you know, if you get that kind of name, but David, what about the kids nowadays that are serial killers? I mean, just because what they call drill. So like the industry of rap has gone from hip hop, whatever parts, and now we're talking about I want to fly on you. Just said something to me on Instagram Live. Now I'm 16 years old and I got 17 hats. You know what that means when they say I got 17 hats. And these guys will tell you, hey, you're not a real killer unless they said the difference between a killer and a shooter. They said a shooter, somebody, you know, you shot somebody, somebody shot at you, you shot at them. They said, but a killer is like somebody that's killed. So in my book, he said, at least 2 or 3 times. He said, because if you make a mistake one time, they'll forgive you. If you do something else wrong one time, they forgive you. He said, but so if you kill one time, that's not really a killer. If you kill a bunch, I mean, this shit is crazy. You don't even have to be a spree killer or a serial killer now. It's just crazy right now.
What was it?
You know, but you can also argue that 100 years ago it was just as crazy with prohibition gangsters.
Okay.
You know, and they were all different ethnicities. You know, like in the Quad Cities in Illinois, Iowa. You know, there's like 4 cities, the Quad Cities. That was run by the Belgium mafia of all things. Belgium. Whoever thinks of Belgium mobsters?
Well, everybody.
What they used to do, they would kill people. You know, the railroads go through there. They, you know, massive going across country railroads. They'd go on a bridge under the railroad, and they'd just dump the bodies into an open car in a gondola. And they'd end up in like Wyoming or Oregon before anybody would stop and see them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, man. All right. Shit.
David, do you think Sacramento might be the center of serial killers? Because there's so many serial killers that came out of Sacramento, like the Golden State Killer, aka the East Area Rapist. You have Doretha Puente, the Black Widow of Sacramento. You have Morris Solomon, the Handy Killer. You got Roger Kibbe, the I-5 Strangler.
Right.
Richard Trenton Chase, the Vampire of Sacramento.
Yeah.
Gerard and Charlene Gallegos,
Yeah.
and the Unabomber. How come there's so many serial killers in Sacramento? What's
You
going on?
know, I think it comes down to is where Sacramento is. It was the end of the line for the railroad. That's where they said, it's the end of the line, and this is it.
What was it?
Connections for Sacramento is the freeways, the railroad, the airport's communication all goes through Sacramento before it goes to other places. And I think that with it being kind of a town, Sacramento's always been a city that minded its own business. And like right now, we got a lot of people from the Bay Area moving in, and you can pick them out because they'll drive flashier cars and stuff, and they'll like honk their horns real long on the lights. Like in Sacramento, you just go like beep beep if you're gonna like get somebody's attention to get going or something. You don't lay on it, you know. So where was I going with that? But Sacramento has always been like the end of the line, a center of where everything meets, you know. And so it's not unusual, I think, to have, you know, murderers of the same thought being in the same place.
You know, like David, I mean, some of these killers, I mean, like Ted Bundy, I mean, he put a cast on, he would drop some books. The girl go, oh, can I help you pick up those books? And then he hits him with a crowbar in the back of the head. Well, Gerard and Charlene Gallegos are sort of like that too. They were at the Sunrise Mall,
Listen.
and they had Gerard had his van out in the parking lot, and his wife would find some pretty girl in Sunrise Mall and say, "Come on over and meet my husband. He's a model agent. He's looking for models to be in this movie." And so she would follow Gerard's wife over to the van, and she says, "You have some paper to fill out." They conk her in the head, throw her in the van, and then they were driving her up to Lake Tahoe. And Charlene, well, they did things to her inside that van, and I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, I know about, yeah.
Yeah, and they had her, Charlene had the girl in the ditch, and then hitting her in the back of the head with a shovel.
Yeah.
I mean, how cruel is that? I mean,
Well, what's worse is that she got parole and she's walking around free today and she's still doing scams.
oh my God.
Exactly.
Susan Carmichael.
Charlene is free?
Yeah.
Yep.
She's been free for 20 years, maybe more.
Oh my God.
She did her time. She did her time. He died. Didn't he die of cancer or something?
Yeah, he died in the cell. Her father was like a Rayleigh's guy.
What was it?
They lived in like real nice neighborhood and stuff. And
The
What was
Rays
it?
guy.
yeah,
I gotta
Rayleigh's
go.
supermarket chain.
That that Symbionese Liberation Army. One of the women who killed that woman at the bank.
Oh yeah,
Carlisle.
Patty Hearst.
Thank you. And that's
Oh, no,
all.
no.
Yeah.
Patty Hearst didn't kill her. There was another
Yeah.
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Patty
Oh, what?
Hearst.
But
She-
you know
she-
that case
she
goes
got-
real deep. I don't want to get into that, man. That one is crazy.
Well, yeah, but the woman that actually shotgunned that old woman who was bringing change in from her church or for deposit Monday morning or whatever, she got away with it for like I think 20, 30 years, and got married, had kids, completely uncaught. Then when she did get caught, she went to trial, and they let her off, and they're like, oh well, it was so long ago. They slap on the wrist kind of thing. And this woman was blonde hair, blue eyes, affluent, came from wealth. You couldn't tell me that if this was a black woman, or a black that they would have sent them right to the friggin' chair. This was total, ridiculous racism in the opposite direction. It was ridiculous.
Hey, Phil, I gotta tell you something. 1976, it was the first time I got out of the Army before went back in the Army in 1979. In 1976, I moved to an apartment on W Street. Right down the street, just one block on W Street, the SLA, Sudanese Liberation Army, had a hideout on W Street. And I know I was running into the people at the gas station. There's a little corner gas station at W Street and 15th. Yeah, 15th and W. There's a gas station, and I recognized them on the TV. I said, "Oh yeah, I've seen that dude over at the gas station."
Was that around the time? Was that around the time that Squeaky tried to kill President Ford?
Oh, there we go. Another one. Yeah, close to it.
Crazy
Before
stuff.
you forget, does anybody know here about the SLA connection? Q, the leader, and Huey Newton, both of them, as far as courting the young rich white girls, being involved with one of the members, maybe it wasn't Patty Hearst, but it was somebody else that had a tie between Huey Newton and Q, and how they both end up being informants. And they talked about Q, the guy actually being a mental guy, been going in and out of the mental hospital, and he had some kind of deal for money the first time to leave the girl alone, stay and not be involved with any of that. But then he ended up being put in the thing aside and die. If I'm correct, it's just a story. It's a deep one. I don't know if anybody remembers that story though, but it was some kind of deep shit on that.
Yes, I heard something about it, and at the Secretary of State building, we actually had a Black Panther, a former Black Panther, talk to our state workers, and he mentioned something like that.
Okay.
Dave, do you remember who their first victim was?
What was it? Who you talking to?
Dave, do you remember who their first victim was?
The SLA?
Yeah.
What was it?
No, I don't.
I think he was a principal or a vice principal of an Oakland school, and he was a black man.
Oh yeah.
And which was absolutely ridiculous. So it was like, Sin Q, who was a nutcase, he was a mental case.
Yeah.
And then for them to choose this guy who was, who came up hard scrabble life from nothing, made himself a pillar of the local community down there, and earned everything he got, and they singled him out, and killed him for absolutely no reason. Yeah, that whole thing was absolutely ridiculous. One, they made up the word. There's no such word as Symbionese. Two, everybody in the organization was a general. Well, how the hell do you have an organization where everybody is a friggin' general? It was absurd. And then they all ended up in a big ball of fire in some house in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's right.
It was a mess. My friend Bruce, that Dave, I believe, met. He had a good friend whose sister was the Asian woman who was the member. She died in that shooting.
Okay.
And also too, like Zandy was talking about the Black Panthers. Wasn't the Black Panthers in Oakland? They burned down the house in Oakland and killed some of the Black Panthers.
They were in Oakland and they were in Sacramento. They went to the Sacramento Capitol and marched around it with shotguns because there was no law about open carry in California at that period of time.
Yeah, that's why we started you can't carry guns around laws, just because it scared them, because there's a bunch of black guys carrying guns. Because the Black Panthers, they just wanted to protect themselves from the police and to protect their own neighborhood. They had breakfasts for kids and stuff, and they did lots of good things.
Yeah.
And the city was totally ignoring it. That started in Oakland. So,
and then they started out good. And then when they started seeking the money and trying to get the women to him, and then Fred Hampton, you remember that incident where he had all those bullets shot at him, but not but his son is still active, highly active. He still got a lot of respect in Oakland now. Because I'm from the Bay Area. It's like that thing, the Panthers. I mean, everybody, if you're like my age, or older, you had somebody where they were They had the Afro forks. They had the Black Power sign. You've seen Tommy and the dudes at the Olympics do it. Ask Mama, why they do that Black Power symbol? You know, what is that? You know, all the movies you see, you know, with the Digging Man, Superfly. Well, Superfly then came out a little bit later, but man, it was a whole movement after the Black Panthers where, you know, black is beautiful. You know, love your you know, love your big nose, love your lips. You know, your skin ain't nothing wrong with that. You know, they was trying to educate. Then the thing is, the first wave, it wasn't about the prejudice thing. It wasn't so much the Black Power thing. It was like, because you had the Muslims that were always like, they wanted you to come to their thing. You know, they want my mother be like, "You're not selling bean pies. You're not doing the bean pie thing." I was like, "Mom." And then, you know, you got the Muslims talking to you, and you got the Panthers talking to you. They was competing for the young black males at that time. You know, but my parents, they was like, man, after that, but they did at the Black Panthers, like he said, like David said, they started out positive, you know, and once they, you know, anybody that's not a bull in a china shop, if you're trying to be a organizer or get something together for people, they're gonna get you in a minute, man. I mean, that's just gonna be disrupted.
Yeah. Well, the hippies did the same. They were hand in hand with them with the free store and everything else down there. That was all positive in the beginning. But what was his name? Nixon went out of his way and sicked the you know, the Secret Service, not the Secret Service, but the FBI. Yeah, after that, it had infiltrators go in there to incite violence when they were peaceful protesters, in order so that they could crack skulls. And you know, they trailed them. They created rap sheets on them. There's a great documentary called The Weather Underground, which followed that group, which is another group that started off peaceful with you know, pie in the sky ideals about, you know, a utopian thing, and then quickly they turned into where they were bombing houses and apartments and you know, public buildings and things like that. I had a question, not a question, but we don't have to talk about it. I was just wondering, does anybody remember the Donald Lang case?
What was it? What was it?
Since we're talking about that area, I believe it was the Bay Area. Maybe it was Los Angeles. I'm not sure, but it was a fellow named Donald Lang. He was African American, and he was deaf. Couldn't speak. He was accused of murdering a prostitute in the 70s, and they tried to railroad him. He had a deaf attorney assigned to him, and got off. They made a TV movie with LeVar Burton playing him in 1979, and Paul Sorvino played the attorney in it. Right. This was kind of like an all-star cast. Brian Dennehy was in it. It was a good movie. I just actually watched it again. I remember watching it as a kid, and then I just watched it again like a few months ago. I found it on YouTube. And I didn't remember as a kid, but at the end, I mean, he gets him off, and this is a true story. He actually, you know, he defended him successfully and got him acquitted. And then as soon as he got him off, about a month later, another prostitute that he was last seen with showed up dead. What was it? To this day, I think he either died in jail or he's still in jail. You know, so it was one of those things where they thought he was being railroaded because he was mute and he couldn't speak and he couldn't defend himself. So they went out of their way to defend him, and they made the whole movie seem like it was this poor innocent guy who was being railroaded.
Yeah.
And then they got him off, and then not even a month later, boom, it happened. He died in
2008.
He died in 2008. Yeah, it was at the end of that watch, because as a kid, I don't remember seeing that last little thing at the end that said that, and I saw it now. I felt really conflicted because I was buying right into it. I'm like, yeah, they railroaded him. I'm so glad they got him.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
but mute.
You know, it's just crazy like that. You know, I mean, people. You know, movie story with Howard Rollins. You remember that, David?
What?
You do remember that movie Soldier Story?
Yeah.
You remember how, you know, they thought it was a white officer that might have killed the black officer, but it really was a black officer that did it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, those type of situations. I haven't, you know, I mean, it's not just like you see that all the time, but you know, with my parents being police officers, you know, you know, like anytime it's something like that, the first thing they'll say is, "What makes you think that?" Like they're always nobody will jump to conclusions. So you just never really know, man. You just gotta crime happens and you know it's not a race related, you know.
Is that the one with Denzel Washington
Yeah,
that you're talking about? What was that the guy who played the sergeant that actually got killed? The one they hit was it Adolf Caesar was his name or something?
yeah, Adolf Caesar. Yeah, he was one
He
of
was
those
in
brothers. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, he was in The Color Purple too, right? He played the father in The Color Purple.
right, right.
Yeah, great actor, great actor.
Oh,
Yeah, he
smoking,
really played an unlikable character to the T. He could do
smoke,
it.
smoke shop, man. He's smoking.
Phil, I just sent you a little message. Can you read it? And don't say anything, but if you can do it, because I want to talk about something.
David, what's your favorite cases, David?
Huh?
What's one of your what's one of your most moving cases, you know, that really like got you off the, you know?
Okay, this one really affected me. I just wrote about it maybe 5 months ago, and I'm reissuing my book 1926 to come out in
Okay.
2026, and I've doubled the stories in it. And this one had happened. There's this couple. They were from Tucson, Arizona. They had two kids, like an infant and a 2-year-old, and they thought they'd be ranchers. And so, they lived in the city their whole life. So they moved out to the middle of nowhere, out in the desert. And uh, the nearest, their nearest neighbor is 8 miles away. Her husband and her brother have jobs at a ranch about 20 miles away, and they'd be gone for like 3 days, 4 days at a time, and come home for 3, 4 days. And so they took off. And that night, she heard something like in a chicken coop. She went to investigate. She gets bit by a rattlesnake on her ankle. It's
What
like,
was
holy shit. So she tries to do all the things that you're supposed to do, and she accidentally cuts an artery. She's bleeding all over the place. She's like poisoned by the rattlesnake, and
Okay.
goes into the second day of this. She's like writing messages for her husband in a notebook. It's getting covered in blood and stuff. And she finally, like, she's gonna die. She doesn't want her kids like carried off by coyotes, so she kills them. She shoots them, and then she shoots herself. And her husband and brother came by like 2 days later and found them.
what was it? What was it?
Wow, what year was this?
1926.
Oh shit!
Hey, oh my
Yeah,
Where did where did this happen, Dave?
outside of Tucson, Arizona, about 20 miles southeast of it.
Yeah,
What
people
was
don't realize that even though that's 99 years ago, which it seems like a long time ago. It wasn't a long time ago, but still, Tucson back then, that was still the Wild West. That was there were no public services. You couldn't just pick up and call an ambulance.
Oh no,
Um,
even phones are rare out there.
no
God.
phones, 911, no electricity for most people.
Hey,
Phil?
what a way. Shit.
Phil, do you see my private message?
Yeah, you want me to do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
David,
Advertising.
Honestly.
okay, do you guys know why I was playing? Well, I had Phil play the Miami Vice theme song. What was it? What was it?
No.
No? Okay, I'm going to tell you. And it wasn't, it has nothing to do with that Florida zombie guy that was eating that guy's face. It wasn't about that. Philip Michael Thomas, you guys know who Philip Michael Thomas is, right? He was,
Stop.
yeah, Tubbs. Okay. Well, his brother, Marcus Thomas, lived in Oak Park, and he was the Oak Park rapist. What was it?
No.
Yes.
Really?
Right.
Yes. And Philip
Say-
Michael
yeah.
Thomas
Yeah.
would go down to San Quentin when they arrested him and visit his brother all the time.
Wow.
What
Yep.
was it?
Yep.
Philip Michael. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, before the show started, we were talking about a movie that he did voice in called Coonskin from the 70s. It was an animated movie. I don't know you ever see that one, Xanthine? Where
Nah, who did the voice? Philip Michael Thomas?
Michael Thomas played one of the voices. Barry White had one of the voices. Scatman Crothers played one of the voices.
Seen that? Nah, I may have seen that. Yeah, Scatman Crothers.
They played a bunch of black rabbits that were going into Honky Town and killing the pigs.
Yeah, I saw it. It's been a while. Yeah.
It was pretty wild.
You know, Philip Michael Thomas can sing too. He can. He actually he wanted to do all the arts, but that's where he landed. But he really wanted to do the singing, put his records out and stuff. And so that doesn't.
It's too bad he didn't try to help his brother. I mean, before he did these crimes and wind up doing all this time in prison.
You can't live somebody else's life more than Paul.
No. You know,
What are you saying?
I live Xanthine's life all the time.
What are you gonna do? Hey brother, don't go out raping tonight. Come to an acting class with me.
Yeah.
Come on.
Nah, David, I like the blues, man. I like nothing better than going to the Powerhouse on a Sunday and tearing it up. And that's why I go to the Powerhouse and meet a couple of fellas and hit some blues numbers, get some Howlin' Wolf going.
Hell yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, I'm ready for it. Hey, but David, so out of so you think Sacramento has the most activity? Where do you think the most like bizarre killings? If you have to say one area, the most bizarre, killers come from, not prolific but bizarre. What would you say?
Germany.
Wow. Wow. I really don't know. I mean, Sacramento had so many of them, and I think the weirdest out of all those serial killers from Sacramento was Chase, the Sacramento vampire. He was really sick.
Oh, David, I actually did a documentary on that guy. Richard Chase, the Vampire of Sacramento. I did it for 2-4 Productions out of England. And the series that they had was called Conversations with a Serial Killer. Anyway, I took the crew to all the victim houses.
Yeah.
And there was this one house where he slaughtered the family. He would hide it behind this half wall, and he would watch them and defecate.
Yeah.
He shit it all over the place over there out of excitement.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Il est très bizarre.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and not only that, okay, Richard Trenton Chase, he took a bird, pulled off his head, and drank his blood.
Mm-hmm.
And he was eating the flesh of his murder victims.
Oh, we're gonna watch too many movies. I wanted to try it.
He was sick.
He thought Nazis and aliens were stealing his blood.
Yeah.
He was in and out of a mental institution that was right there. You remember where it was, Dave? It was right on the border of Carmichael and Sacramento, down at the end, not far from where I used to live. Where the apartment was. Dave and I traced his steps. We've been through the trail too. Yeah. But I wanted to ask Dave, because we had done reenactments together, and in fact we met because I had done a comic book. Dave's a writer. I did a comic book. There's a big difference. Dave's, actually devoted some serious time at work to his stuff. I just kind of did the highlights with some pretty pictures. I wanted to ask Dave, was there anything so dark that you never completed it or kind of backed away from it? It was just it kind of either depressed you too much to write about it, or you just kind of got the willies, or just you didn't want it. It was too much. You just backed away from it.
Yeah, there's in my latest book with Diddley, California.
What was it?
What was
murders, accidents, and robberies gone wrong. So I wanted to get another accident in there because I had a few. Because
what was
in 1919, a 16-year-old was driving a school bus up by Reading, and he had like 12 kids in his bus. And you can imagine what a bus would look like in 1919. And he got hit by a train. Right? He raced the train, killed like 15 kids. And
What was
so that's why buses always have to stop at railroad crossings. So I wanted another one, and I found this one in Sacramento, and I just couldn't. It was too sad. I couldn't write about it. It was a guy with his family. He had like 11 kids. He was a retired um, military MP. He was a black guy. So and this is like in 1962. And so him and his wife and like five of his youngest kids, six of his youngest kids they're going to the PX at Mather, and they turn off power in and get hit by a train, and they all get killed. Like 8 people get killed in this one accident. And they had like kids that were teenagers that stayed home, and then you had a couple of adult kids that were on their own. It's just such a sad thing. I was like, I can't even write about this. It's so sad.
I mean, you talk about the depressing cases. One of the most depressing cases I've ever seen was over in Wilseyville, and Charles Ng and Leonard Lake, 2 serial killer buddies.
Yeah.
They killed something like 30 women, videotaped them.
Guys.
Yeah, it was horrible. What was it?
Yeah, the baby. When you talk about what they did with the baby, that's when I
Yeah.
closed the.
David was talking about bus. Let's not forget the chinchilla bus kidnapping, where they buried the whole bus and buried it.
Yeah.
Kids in it.
Chowchilla. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta go. I'll be back.
Yeah, that was crazy. Chilla. Wow. I mean, because I remember hearing about that, as a kid, and like just thinking, wow, what if? The crazy thing about a lot of those cases, Phil, what do you think? Like, don't you think it's a trip about what might be going through those people's mind when there's nobody to rescue? It's not like a movie where there's somebody's gonna save you. It's going down. The people are telling you you're gonna die. They got you. There's nobody gonna rescue. It's like there must be that's what hits me the most about a lot of those type cases.
I think if anybody who's been in an accident or some type of highly traumatic situation like that, only thing close I can say is that I had somebody die literally in my arms, and I also got hit by a car head on outside of a car house when I was on my feet.
Yeah.
And when things like that happen, time does slow down. I know it's a cliche and everybody says it, but it really does. You don't have time to really think about, like, the emotion almost stops. There is no time for tears. There is no time for fear almost. Now, I don't know about kids being trapped on a bus that's being buried, because that was a prolonged period of time. That couldn't have been like a 2-second thing for them to steal a bus, dig a hole, and bury it. That had to take a little bit of time. So they probably had a little bit more time to actually be afraid. But anything that happens quick like that, and I don't know if the fear thing. I think I think that kind of turns off, and it just you go on basic instinct type. Your body, you just react to it. If it drags out beyond that, I would imagine you'd probably go into shock, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I really don't know. I haven't been held captive before. Thankfully that's one of the experiences I have yet to experience.
You never had a girlfriend like that, huh?
Now that you mentioned it.
And
David, you know better than we do, David. Give us the goods, man. What's up?
But what?
about Mr. Phil in the dungeons, the real Dungeons and Dragons with the girls.
I don't know anything about that.
No, I'm just kidding, man.
You know, it's amazing how these killers think. They want to terrorize their victims, like Roger Kibbe, the I-5 strangler. One of the victims that he had, this female victim, he parked his car by I-5 and Centerville, and right along the Sacramento River. If you look down, you see the Sacramento River. He had the girl, and she was in the passenger seat. She couldn't get out, and I think he has something with the on the lock of the car where she was unable to get out. And he opens up the glove compartment, pulls out a pair of scissors, and starts snipping at her dress. Can you imagine how terrified that woman was?
Yeah.
And he wound up killing her. He strangled her. He's the I-5 strangler. So yeah, I mean that he loved putting fear into his victims.
Yeah, that's how they get
Yeah,
off.
that's another reason why I don't really like serial killers, that, to follow them or write about them, is because they're sick motherfuckers.
Yeah,
They are, man. When it comes down to it, it's like there's something wrong with them, man.
you need a Dexter.
It's just I think as a kid I was fascinated with them, and then after reading so many books about them, back then in the 80s and the 90s, they would always leave out the one thing, which was the motivation. And that's what kept the mystery. That's why, I wonder why, I wonder why, I wonder why. And even in like Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter, they never tell you why. He's just a monster, he's this highly sophisticated, charismatic, almost a gentleman, right? With this great taste, but also they flips the switch and he'll bite your face off type of shit. Like, what makes that guy tick? But then all of a sudden you read enough books and you find out about these other guys and you realize, oh, you mean at almost every serial killer's crime scene, they find sperm?
Yeah.
It literally just comes down to that. It's just that. Like, they're wired to, like, I like women, homosexuals like what they like, and then serial killers don't get off unless they're murdering somebody. That's their wiring.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not interested anymore.
Yeah. So I feel about it too. And also since the late 70s, when it all started coming out, where you start finding all these serial killers, now a lot of people do it to, it seems that they want the celebrity of
they
being
want
a
fame.
killer.
Yeah, fame. Yeah, they're real wankers.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, I saw recently here in Florida, there were 3 kids. It was like 11, 12, and like 14. They all stole a car, and it's almost like they were playing a video game. They're driving the stolen car. The oldest one was 14. And they came up on a guy driving a bicycle. And every time I ride, when I got somebody, I'm like, why don't these idiots ride their bicycles on the sidewalks?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's almost nobody ever walking on the sidewalk. The sidewalks are wide open, but these morons insist on riding on the shoulder. And just like this, same thing, this dope, 58-year-old, scientist or whatever, riding his bicycle to work, thinking he's Lance Armstrong. These kids came right up behind him. Let's get him. Look, they get him. Bang! Ran his ass right over, killed him.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was a video game.
Yeah. I remember that. Oh my goodness.
And it's, if you try to tell the people who are riding the bicycles, they're indignant about it. I have the right to ride on the street, and you have the right to die too. What is it going to take for you? Are you afraid to get your tires dirty on the grass or the concrete sidewalk? Fuck that. I've got a bicycle too, and you know where I ride? On the fucking sidewalk. And if somebody's on the sidewalk walking, I go to the grass and I ride around them, and then I'm back on the sidewalk again. I'm not riding on that shoulder next to some car that's going by me at 50 miles a fucking hour. You don't know if they're on the cell phone looking at this. Boom, it could be an accident. These kids did it intentionally. I'm not taking a chance. it's just dumb shit. But
I
anyways,
don't ride
these
bikes anymore.
right, yeah, but these kids, it almost looked like they were playing a video game like Grand Theft Auto or something, or it almost reminded me of, like, you remember the Toxic Avenger?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anybody ever see the Toxic Avenger?
Yes, yes.
It was a really cheesy movie from Films or whatever. Toxic Avenger is New Jersey's only superhero, and he was this really wimpy guy who mopped up the gym, and the tough guys at the gym beat him up and threw him into a truck that was outside the gym window, which happened to be passing by New Jersey and was filled with toxic waste. Because every truck passing by in New Jersey is filled with toxic waste. That's all there is in New Jersey is toxic waste. And he became Toxic Avenger, right? But the bad guys in that movie are driving their Camaro because that's all people drive in New Jersey is Camaros, especially the bad guys. And they're gay, so with their mullet and their Camaro, their game was to run people over. And so as they're driving down the street, they see the little old lady, and it's almost like Death. It was a Death Race 2000 with David Carradine from the 70s or whatever. They're like Butch, and the girls are egging their mother like, Butch, oh, it's turning me on. I'm so horny. Get the old lady. He's like, how many points is that? 50 points? So they run over the kids, they run over the old ladies, all that shit. And these kids, it was almost like they were acting some of that shit out. Only I know those movies are so old, these kids couldn't have seen them. So it had to be a video game or something they were reenacting.
Auto.
Was that it? What was that, Dean?
All those kids in that Grand Theft Auto's got like mean shit on there.
Yeah. Yep.
Didn't they get to their house and they just went inside thinking that it was like Grand Theft Auto, where if they get inside their house then they're safe, and all the cops came to the house? They thought they were home free.
Oh, they were. They totally got away with it. You know how they got caught? They posted the video.
Oh, yeah.
Like kids.
Yeah, they posted the video. They caught themselves. Thankfully they did. Otherwise, they would have probably never caught them. Yeah.
David, I want to ask you, how did you develop your formula for writing? Because it seemed like you're prolific. You got it down. Like you're going through, you're putting up covers, and I'm like, some people like you and Paul, you guys write books fast, but how did you get your formula to where you can get it damn near published every time? Because to me, it's like I have some friends that are producers, and they can send beats out from the house to a famous person. They're like, yeah, I like that shit. It's EQ'd right and everything. And then you can send it out, and they would never even listen to it, another person. So I'm just wondering, how did you get that flow? How did you get that formula down packed?
I kind of take the Jack Webb approach and just kind of stick with the facts. I've read some books where, there's this one about
What was it?
Ed Gein, the cannibal guy in Wisconsin. In this guy's book, he was
What was it?
doing voices like how they would have talked, and he had them talking like Southerners when they were really like more like Fargo talking, more like me. I'm from Michigan, and I have that kind of talk. So, but I just like to deal with the facts, and I don't like to judge things. One thing I do, and is I quit calling the murderer by their first name after they murder in my stories. After that, they're always the last name, and I just kind of do that. It's just kind of a thing I do. It's just for myself. Yeah.
Hey, I got some for all three of you. Okay, Ed Gein. We're talking about Ed Gein.
Yeah.
He was the inspiration for 3 movies. What were those 3 movies?
Psycho.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
What was
it? I'm
Psycho
not sure about
it? Silence of the Lamb. Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My psych professor in college, interned at the Mendota State Hospital, and she danced with him at a Christmas party.
Oh my god.
Really?
Chance of death.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Uh,
Hey,
So,
I,
what would you say, Dave, about somebody who collects phones? You
What
think
was-
something
I think
like,
it's one of the coolest hobbies you can have.
you know, you don't think there's anybody, you know, it might be you know, telling, they might be hiding something in their deep in their psyche, might be dangerous. I don't.
My mother-in-law had Alzheimer's, and my cell phone was on like old-fashioned ring, and I'd tell her like, answer the phone.
You're
hey, I got a crush for all three of you again. Okay. What was okay? Rudy Eugene, aka the Miami Zombie.
Okay.
Why in the hell did he take that victim, Rudy Popo, and eat his face off?
He was
What?
high on bath salt, supposedly, right?
And then they said now that his whole system was clean.
Yeah,
So
I don't,
Do you know
don't
what?
trust the labs.
what was
What'd you say? What'd you say, Phil? I'm sorry.
Indeed. I don't trust the police labs. They've been wrong before. And I don't think it may have been bath salts, it may have been meth. That was Miami. I know the case Zandine's talking about. Zandine's talking about the frat boy. There was a frat boy that was, you know, high on bath salts that attacked a couple that was sitting in their garage on lawn chairs right in front of their house, minding their own business, and he went nuts and attacked the husband and, like, you know, ate his face off. That was the bath salt case.
That might be the one I'm thinking of, Phil. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one you're talking about.
I think
Paul's talking about the homeless guy who lived. The guy actually lived. He's blind because the guy ate his eyeballs. But I believe that the labs are complete horseshit. Meth. If you've watched enough of these documentaries about people on meth, and I'm a documentary nut. It heats up their body to where their blood's almost boiling. I've seen videos where these guys literally run into restaurants, take their clothes off, and go and try to crawl into the ice machine. Or some of them have actually grabbed handfuls of ice and shoved the ice up their ass, trying to cool themselves off, you know, with the ice. Their body is on fire. And so the extreme reaction from it could have been bath salts, depending on the time or the year that this crime actually happened, because that was readily available. More than likely, I think it could have been a meth reaction. It also combined with obviously some mental illness. I mean, or it could have been straight mental illness. What about the Asian guy on that bus in Canada who attacked that poor kid who was sitting there? And the Canadian police just kept the door shut and literally watched for like an hour as the guy ate what was left of this poor kid.
Yeah, that was the Wendigo case. They try to say he had the evil spirit of the Wendigo inside of his body.
And the Canadian cops were like, well, he's already dead. Let's just let him finish eating.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh, you know, another one that blows me away. There was this rapper named Big Lurch. Has anyone ever heard of him?
Yeah. I mean, you heard of him. I mean, not like
Okay, well, Big Lurch killed his girlfriend, and he smeared so much blood on him that when he was walking in the middle of the street, butt naked, with all of this blood on him, the police officer thought he was wearing a red miniskirt. That he actually saw all this red and said, "Oh, there's this guy wearing a dress walking in the middle street." When he got closer, he saw it was Big Lurch, butt naked with blood all over him.
wait, you know, that's crazy. Phil, you know, back to what you said about if it's bath salts, and then David, I want to know what you thought about this. You know how they talk about the real zombies that have the level 5 prion disease, like almost like mad cow's disease with mad humans disease? Those ones that were getting it from the hydrogen bomb fallout. And I'm wondering, like if they had something like that, would they cover it up? You probably wouldn't even know. You know, they said something else. Um, have you heard of that at all?
No.
The real zombies, the ones because they said when they were doing hydrogen bomb testing in the Reagan era, they said unlike the nuclear bombs where they had the cleanup was totally different. They said they would have people running like crazed out, like I don't know if they want to eat flesh, but they weren't easily stopped. And the closest thing you can get to a human zombie that's like in the movie, but it was basically what they call a level 5 chronic disease, mad cows, but it's like mad human.
And that happened to people that were downwind from it, or?
Yeah, exactly. And they also talked about squads that like every now and then you get a town somewhere that goes off grid. They stop paying taxes, the mail, all the whole system's off. And they say some of those towns that count the down when they have to go and eradicate or do something, I don't who knows if it's true or not, but it seemed like it was legit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Wow.
know another thing about the bath salts is there's no drug test for bath salts.
I know.
There isn't. So Paul, that saying the labs were clean, there are drug tests only exist for drugs that are known, that people screen for normally for employment or for the police thing. Back then when bath salts came out, that's the reason why they weren't illegal, because they were brand new. There was no drug test for them. So chances are, Zandy's right. It probably was a bath salt thing. I mean, you could get them at any head shop back then.
Good answer, you guys. Okay.
What about the voodoo flower? What about that voodoo flower that the Hoogans really give that takes you to the brink of, whatever consciousness, and they think you're dead. So I'm sure that wasn't
like a serpent in the rainbow.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good movie.
Creepy as shit, that one. Hey, we're past the hour. I don't want to keep Dave the whole night. I truly appreciate you spending an hour with us tonight, Dave.
It's been fun, man.
Oh yeah, it was a blast. I mean, we really covered a lot of topics.
Yeah. David, hitter, man. We're glad to have you. We're looking forward to it. We glad, when he told us you were coming, we were like stoked.
Oh man,
David,
that makes me feel big, man. Thanks.
David, you're considered a heavy hitter.
Yeah, we call it heavy hitter. We don't wait to put your interviews out. We put the shit out right away because we want people to see it. It's like he's a heavy hitter. Yeah.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
All your stuff is available on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
That's the best place to get it.
Yeah.
So the book you held up most recently, that your newest one,
my COVID book.
COVID book.
Italy, California.
David,
California, murders, accidents, and robberies gone wrong. David Kulczyk. Get it on Amazon. I will find it and put a link to it in the description of the video when this one is out. And again, I can't thank you enough, brother, for spending an hour with us tonight.
Good being here. Thanks, guys.
Anything else these fellas want to ask? Go ahead. I'll shut up now.
And David, how can people contact you through your website?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, and yeah, I don't have a website anymore because I saw that it made people like not buy my books; they were just reading stuff. I get rid of the website, my sales went back up, so I was like, okay.
I got to ask you something. Okay, author to author.
Yeah.
Some of my books are on Google Books. Are some of your books on Google Books too?
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah.
Okay.
Reads and all that. Yeah.
What do you think about these AI tools? These new AI tools, this shit where like, I mean, are they any good? Can they help your workflow, or they take away from the creativity? What do you think, David?
You know what? I'm using that for the new book of 1926 for just like to start the chapters with. And
okay.
I'm finding it. What am I using? I'm using this Mid-Journey, and I just write 1926 car, middle-aged woman, man with pistol, boom, and give me 3 examples, just like that. Boom. You know, I could say black and white and color, whatever. And, because I've had to pay people to do illustrations. And whenever I have a photograph, I have to pay for the photograph,
Yep.
So it's kind of neat having this. I don't use it for writing at all, but, I don't really need it for writing.
David, I have an artist for my book, and he will charge you anything. If you need something drawn, he'll draw it for you for your book.
Huh.
Yeah.
What was it? What
Is
was
he
it?
good?
Yeah, he's pretty good. Yeah, give me on Facebook, Paul Dale Roberts.
Huh.
Yeah.
Email me his name then later.
I'll look for you.
Yeah.
David. Yeah, you would love it. Yeah, he's a good artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. The AI graphics are pretty amazing. It's hard to beat them.
David, if you get the SuperCon, it's called SuperZon, the newsletter, the cyber newsletter. They have a gat load of AI tools for imaging and videos that come out every day. I mean, the NVIDIA, all of them are. It's so many that are, and they let you try them free, pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, if it's any of those cyber newsletters right now, they have so many AI tools that are like just coming out every day. It's like, and on Sunday they got the best ones.
Yeah. 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 I think, the AI is fine. If it's like, you can think of it like on Star Trek where they say, computer, tell me what happened in Starbase 90 and 29,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all it is with that. It would just be like when you use Siri or something. So
I think it's going to put a lot of coders out of business, and it's going to put a lot of comic book artists out of business right away.
Not cool.
As far as the workforce with even in my own job, which is in IT, we're already seeing an impact just because it does things like Dave said so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We've all got AI assistants now, and it's amazing how quickly it can come up with a piece of code for you like that. It's frightening. I've been taking classes on it, and it even acknowledges in the classes on how it's going to displace the workforce. So it's going to be an interesting future.
Oh yeah, and I just read an article where they said that if you have an ebook out there, your ebook in the future can be downloaded and made into a movie. Yeah, so my ebooks might become movies sometime in the future.
Well, the way the movies are lately, they could use some fresh ideas.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
I know the same plot. Good brother, bad brother. They split up. They try to save each other at the end, or they start from the end of the movie and then blink. I mean, the same techniques. The same. This has been going on forever.
Yeah. Or he was a former Army Ranger and he's seeking revenge because his wife was killed
and somebody killed his dog.
Yeah.
They stole his car. It's John Wick all over again.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah. I made the mistake of watching Craven the other night, and I'm like, oh, this is horrible. It's
horrible.
Yeah. There are no original ideas, unfortunately.
No, all movie companies are owned by multimedia companies, multinationals.
Yeah.
So they're running it like they're making cars.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't care about art, which is what cinema is entertainment and art.
Oh yeah. No, it's just sad though, because like even the effects, right? That this Craven movie, the bad guy is when he takes his medicine off, he becomes a rhino, right? And somehow in this world, rhinos are bulletproof, even though rhinos are almost extinct because they're clearly not bulletproof. This guy, when he goes a rhino, is bulletproof. And the effects of him turning into a rhino are the worst special effects I've seen since like the 1980s. I see better special effects on YouTube or on Instagram with this crazy AI stuff are better than the shit that I'm watching on this, multi-$100 million movie, whatever. And of course, Craven got his, he's like part animal or something because he's the hunter, and he got his from a little plant. His brother, who was weak, but he was a chameleon because he can sing like anybody. He goes to see some doctor, and at the end, he turns into the chameleon. So you got the hunter, the chameleon, and they just beat the rhino. And I guess his dad was the bear. And I'm like, I fucking hate comic book movies. Oh my God. That's why Deadpool was so good.
Do you like Daredevil Born Again?
No, I don't want any of that bullshit. You know what? I like Deadpool because Deadpool makes fun of all the comic book
Deadpool is
genres.
funny.
Exactly. Deadpool's funny because comic books have been overdone. It's time to cut that shit. 30 years from now, bring him back if you want, but kill it for at least 3 decades because it's been way overdone.
I think you're breaking the fourth wall.
Oh, big time. Big time. You saw The Boys, right? You saw what Homelander did to the Daredevil character, right?
Yeah.
Both his fucking ears and no more Daredevil. Sorry, yes. Yeah, I'm sick of superheroes. I'm sick of every time I see on my phone, here's an ad, and it's just like Quinn didn't know about the superpower his parents had left him because he was an orphan his entire life. And the bullies at the superhero school that he went to, teased him and taunted him when they tried to rape his girlfriend. I'm like, skip ad, skip ad, skip ad. Please skip the fucking ad because I'm sick of this horse shit. Oh my God. This is what the world's coming to, and you wonder why America is filled with stupid fucking people. Read a book, goddammit.
Man, yeah, I feel Netflix is full of those superhero guys. Like, it's just different name, but everybody's got powers and shit. It's like, okay.
Yeah, you wonder why? Because everybody in this world feels fucking powerless.
We got the Zodiac during this.
Yeah, no shit.
Be careful with that thing.
We know who the Zodiac killer is now, don't we, Paul?
Yeah. The Demon
Oh.
What's getting me about movies, and Disney is like the big thing of it. It's where a group of people have to go find somebody that will save them, which has like this religious overtone thing,
wow. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I can't stand that. It's always like, we must find your power, or your will, or this person, and
but I can't. Yes, you can. You're the chosen one. You're gonna save us.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. All right. Well, am I out of here? All right.
Yeah. Let's
Having me, guys.
Anyways, sorry. Thank you, Dave. Really appreciate it again.
Thank